Hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we are one last time going to talk about that major upcoming snowstorm. It feels like I have been talking about this one for so many days now, but I think this is the last update for that one finally. Now, before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather related content. Also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. And I'd also highly recommend that you check out our very exciting Patreon page in the description and in the pinned comment down below. Anyway, for today's comment of the day, I want to know, which state do you think will end up seeing the most snowfall once it's all said and done from this storm? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Now let's get straight into this video, and first things first, we're taking a look at that European model. We always start with the European model. I don't really know why, but that is what we always start with. And as you can see, we're starting out and we have some snowfall going on for the mid-Atlantic states. This is actually a little bit earlier on because there's already some snowfall creeping its way much further east than that at this point. Now, let's go ahead and take this a little bit further in, and this is probably by about 3 p.m. on Sunday, January 31st, which is the day I'm making this video. As you can see, that rain snow line does eventually creep its way further north by this point, and most of the snowfall that is occurring is going on in Virginia, Maryland, D.C., and the Delmarva as well. Southern Pennsylvania also getting included in some of that. And then by the time we reach about 2 a.m. on Monday, it is creeped further north by that point, Pennsylvania and New Jersey getting the bulk of the snow. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move on, and we're going to move on towards where there's going to start getting even heavier snowfall, and it's going to become a lower low pressure system, and it's overall just going to intensify even further. Now here we are by about, this is approximately, I would say 11 p.m. there on Monday, so tomorrow night is when we're going to really begin to see this thing really picking up here. As you can see, we have a 990 millibar low pressure center just offshore of New Jersey, bringing moderate to very heavy snowfall even from eastern Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey there, in through southern New England, as well as southern regions of those northern New England states, New Hampshire, Vermont. So let's just go ahead and move this a little bit further in, and this is by about 8 a.m. on Tuesday morning, so we're moving a bit further. And take a look at that, the coast of New Jersey, the Long Island, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and portions near Cape Cod as well of Massachusetts, you can see has pretty much switched over to rain by this point. So what's interesting here is we're seeing kind of that transition from snow to rain along the coast, because it's a 988 millibar low pressure center just offshore of the coast, and that is allowing for that to mix in. And then by the time we reach kind of the very early portion of Thursday, that will be coming to an end for northern New England. So it's going to be a very long-lived storm actually. And then here's what the GFS says. I'm just showing one frame of the GFS because look at how similar it is. This has it in the same exact spot, pretty much the same intensity, heavy snowfall in the same location. And then the Canadian model too, it has a little bit heavier snowfall and a little bit further west, but generally the same idea here on both of these models. So that is very good agreement at this point. Now what we're going to do here is we are going to move on, and we're going to take a look at that high resolution NAM 3KM model. So we're going to walk through that one as well, and then also walk through our RGEM model, my absolute favorite model. And then we're going to start talking about the snowfall total according to all of these models, and then my official snowfall forecast, my final snowfall forecast, where there's a bit of surprise for you guys at that portion of the video, so stay tuned for that. So what we're going to do is move on, take a look at those high resolution models here. Now here we are taking a look at the NAM 3KM model. It's important to walk through these higher resolution models because they typically do better when you're much closer to a storm than those, the European model, the GFS model, the Canadian model. And it's these exact models that really handled that previous snowstorm very well. So actually I feel quite confident in this model and the RGEM comparatively to those lower resolution models. So as you can see, it's bringing that heavy snowfall in through Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, where there's still some more snow to come for those regions. We did get a report south of Chicago of about 9 or 10 inches, so my forecast out there seems to be doing quite well of 10 to 15 inches of snow just to the south of Chicago. Chicago has a little bit less as of now, but they might creep up into those higher numbers as well, as there's still a little bit more snow to come for sure. Let's just take this to about, I would say it's about 1 a.m. there on Monday, February 1st, so tomorrow from the time I'm making this video. Again, that moderate to heavy snowfall transfers up to Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Jersey for the most part, including New York City. This gets very heavy as we move towards about 5 p.m. there on Monday. So tomorrow, as you can see, very heavy snowfall in through eastern Pennsylvania, the northern 2/3 of New Jersey, Long Island, southern New England, including Connecticut, where somebody commented and said they want me to mention Connecticut more. So I'm going to go ahead and say it. Connecticut is going to have some moderate to heavy snowfall there, and Rhode Island and Massachusetts. I don't want anybody left out, and Long Island, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. I just want to mention every state right now while I have the chance. So we have a 992 millibar low pressure center down there. This is a very classic setup here. But by the time we reach about, I would say maybe 4 a.m. here on Tuesday, February 2nd, you can see that rain snow line does move north a bit there for portions of Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Long Island there as well. And as you can see, it kind of sticks around there, and we do see some light snowfall to end this storm. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move on and take a look at that RGEM model, and then start talking about the snowfall totals in just a moment. Now, out of all of the models, I think the RGEM handled our previous snowstorm, a much smaller snowstorm, albeit, but really it was a great forecast from the RGEM model for that one. It had the snowfall totals, the maximum amount of snowfall totals. It had it in the 3 to 6 inch range, and it had it much further north, and that is what ended up happening. I had about 4.5 inches where I'm at, and it was forecasting again within that 3 to 6 inch range. So that model really handled this storm very well, the previous one. So I think there's a good chance it could handle this one really well as well. This is by about, I would say, 7 a.m. there on Sunday, as you can see. So this is probably about the time I'm making this video, actually, and this looks pretty good comparatively to what's showing up on radar right now. Let's just take this to about, again, 1 a.m. on Monday, February 1st. As you can see, it looks very similar to the NAM 3KM. It's a little lower resolution compared to that model, and it does have that very heavy snowfall enter into eastern Pennsylvania and northern New Jersey, as well as those southern New England states by a time we're reaching maybe about 6 p.m., 5 or 6 p.m. there on Monday, February 1st. This does eventually lead to that rain snow line moving further inland by the time we're reaching maybe about 2 p.m. on Tuesday there. This model takes that heavier snowfall way inland, reaching all the way towards Buffalo, New York, and areas of western New York, including the Finger Lakes regions. And then it closes out some snow showers there at about 1 or 2 p.m. there on Wednesday, February 3rd. So what we're going to do here is we're going to move on. And we're going to move on and take a look at the snowfall totals according to all of these models, and then my official snowfall forecast coming up in just a moment. All right, now what we're going to do here is start out with that European model, just like we did for the simulated radar. And all you need to know is that some of this snowfall has already occurred there for Illinois, Indiana, some of those more western regions. This is as of about this European run actually initialized at about maybe 1 a.m. last night. So all of the snowfall that has happened overnight basically is still included right here. So you're going to want to subtract some of that on the western end. But basically all you need to know is that if you're in the grays, you're expecting a dusting, if anything. Within those blue shades, about 2 to 6 inches of snow. In those purple shades, 6 to 10. In the pinks, 10 to 20. And then in some of those teal shades there for eastern Pennsylvania and northern New Jersey there, that's where we're at about 20 inches plus. All right, now let's take this to the GFS model, and you can see it's a lot of the same, except the GFS model has initialized at about 6 a.m. So you can see it's really subtracted a lot of those western amounts. That is the snowfall that has occurred overnight. There still is multiple inches expected to still fall, but it has subtracted the overnight totals that have still already come through. As we transition over to our Canadian model here, you can see that it does have many, many higher totals there over eastern Pennsylvania and northern New Jersey. Take this with a massive grain of salt, but it is calling for 55 inches of snow for eastern Pennsylvania. I think you could easily subtract 20 of those inches off and get a little bit more of a realistic forecast, although that still would be an insanely high amount of snow. But I think 20 inches plus is actually pretty realistic with this storm, given the track, given the intensity, given where it's going to be. But, 40 inches plus, we're talking historic at that point. So take that with a grain of salt at this point. I'd be very surprised if we see anybody get over 30 inches of snow, although you should never exclude the possibility of anything occurring in weather, because the weather just does whatever, That's a perfect way to put it. Now, let's move on to a high-resolution model now. This is our NAM 3KM model. So you can tell that this one really takes into account the elevation. Take a look at Pennsylvania and down through Virginia. You can tell that it has those higher totals on the mountain ranges. That's because it's so high resolution it can pinpoint those areas. But we can see that New Jersey, eastern Pennsylvania, it is calling for 20 inches plus, just like all of our models have so far. Our RGEM model, my favorite model, like I said, a little lower resolution than the previous model we showed. But as you can see, 20 inches plus easily in eastern Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, and then southern New York there as well. So that area is expecting to get the most at this point. That's where I do anticipate the bullseye to be located. Now, for my forecast, if you're anywhere in this white region, you're at about a dusting to 3 inches of snow. I am excluding all of the snowfall that has fallen for the most part. I tried to at least. You might be watching this in a few hours, in which case, on the western end, you need to subtract even more because more of it has already fallen, etc. So I know it's a little confusing to make a forecast after the storm has already started, but there is some necessary updates I need to make for this storm. If you're anywhere in this lighter blue region, you're at about 3 to 6 inches of snow. In this darker blue, 6 to 10. And then 10 to 15 in this magenta shade. And then in this brighter pink, 15 to 20. So this hasn't moved around too much. We've shifted this a tiny bit north. That's the only real huge change we made. And then also our 20-inch plus region is a big change too. And I do keep this over northeastern Pennsylvania, northwestern New Jersey, and then portions of the Catskill Mountains there in New York. That's where I expect the bullseye to set up. I know that's a little bit further north than what any of the models were calling for, but that's typically how it would go. You would see that the heavier snowfall does make its way a little bit more towards the more mountainous regions, a little bit further north than what the models were anticipating. So I am just going with my gut feeling here, and just what my experience tells me will likely happen, and that tells me the bullseye is going to be a tiny bit further northwest than what the models are anticipating. But outside of that, that is my official snowfall forecast for this one. Now, as far as my confidence, I haven't upgraded to a 6. I'm only at a 5. When we're talking about this much snowfall, like potentially a once every year type event, or maybe even more rare than that, you want to take it with a little bit more of a grain of salt because these models can overdo things. So my confidence is just not moved up to a 6. I'm at a 5 because I could see areas getting a pretty good chunk less snowfall than anticipated or more. So there is just those variables when you're talking about much higher amounts. That tells me I should probably stick with a 5 instead of a 6, even on my final forecast for this storm. Anyway, for today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, when do you think our next major snowstorm is going to be? And C Story said early February, like the 6th to the 9th. And I do think that there is a signal for a snowstorm within that range. So that's a pretty realistic guess there by C Story. Anyway, for today's patron highlight of the day, I want to thank you all for supporting the channel, but especially our platinum patrons, Sebastian Tao, John Bembenek, James Wade, Dovey Nagel, Alan Belemo, Adam S., Larry Lepan, Donna Carnes, Cameron Marshall, and Aiden Mattis, alongside our diamond patrons, Bill Roberts, Alan Sherry, Marcus Connolly, Noah Harley, Michael Codalessa, Michael Buell, Terry Curtis, Catbite, Charles Stinnett, Colin Manhart, It's Jay, Cindy Klein, Alicia Davis, Mark J, Luke Valego, Gary's, and John Quilisi. If you would like to be on this patron end screen of the day, you can do so by joining our very exciting Patreon page in the description and in the pinned comment down below. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media. I'll see you guys in the next video.